Good evening, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your SPDR-ETF stock market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening, as we're here now on Thursday, the 2nd of May, 2024. All right, in the morning, I will be bright, ready, polished, showered, and waiting to talk to you about the morning jobs report. That will be the market mover in the morning. Now, obviously, we're getting earnings every day on so many companies. Apple came out today, and if we take a look, well, first, you can see Amazon jumped again today, back up another $5. We have Tesla flat. NVIDIA jumped up 27 on the day. Apple in the aftermarket is up about 6%. I wasn't that impressed with what they did. The reason that it's up is they're doing a $110 billion buyback of stock. So as they do that, that's bigger than they normally do. It's one way to put the market on notice that they're doing something. And my guess is they're getting themselves ready for the September release of whatever the next iPhone's going to do. And in order to make it pop, they somehow got to tie it into AI. I don't know how you do that or what it is. I'm not a programmer, but I can read between the lines that that's what they're talking about. When I look at their Chinese business, it's down. They'll talk, oh, I heard the commentary. Well, we actually have done better. You really haven't done better. While we and the others at the Honor, they've really stepped up their game way over where you're at this point. But we get the iPad on the 7th, so we'll find out what that's going to look like, and will that help the business? McDonald's down another $1.15 today. Gold market down a little bit. What we've seen happening in a number of markets is the commodity sector has pulled down. You know that. So we've watched that level of inflation back out of the market. That run has come, done its thing, and now the question is, what is next? Tomorrow, let's talk about what to expect and where you're at. Non-farm payrolls data comes out 7:30 in the morning. That's what everybody's going to focus on. S&P Global Group will come up with their final April service sector number at 8:45, and the ISM will come out with their indices of the service sector. So it's been strong. You saw today that we had the jobless claims, and they all came in weaker again. How could you look for the jobs report to be down? That's what I'm interested in. They're looking for 240,000. The last report was much higher than that, in the 300,000 range. So we'll see what happens. For those of you who get my full research, my written reports twice a day, I really dive into the report, go through the last 14 months, what they've looked like, where they're at. I try to define with you what a neutral report is, what a bearish report will look like, bearish being jobs aren't being created, and what a strong report definition might buy. I'm not going to go through that here. That's why I have the full research. And my whole goal in that is to point you into areas that other people aren't really talking on. I even talk about electricity. And the reason I talk about electricity is because the demands for it in these mega centers, the AI centers, I don't think people understand, and these senators, when they go in, we're going to get these, they're going to come to our state. Number one, they don't employ very many people. Number two, they're going to hog all the electricity off your grid. They're going to take that carbonless electricity and water. They're going to need elements. In other words, you get at these centers, they generate tremendous heat. They don't employ a lot of people. Think about this. Take a big print up, and they're energy hogs. Do you remember crypto miners? How we kept hearing, oh, no, they got to be near water, the heat that they generate. Now multiply this by 100. That's what these centers do. So you got to really understand the needs. You know, I'm hearing some, oh, we got a nuclear generator coming on, or we got one there, they'll build by it. Okay, and that means they're going to take, remember, a generator's not infinite amounts. They're engineered for a certain amount of kilowatts, whatever the name that they'll put out of those things. Okay, you can only take so much of it. Then what do the other people do? Think it through. MasterCard's still in the toilet. No sign of relief for this. You can see how the market is falling apart, and we will drop this and go to something new tomorrow. for the weekend review when I do that. You can see how the market's been coming down. I wouldn't be surprised if the 18-day average crisscrosses the 100 and this market stays in a lot of trouble. Why? Well, eventually the consumer's going to get hurt and there'll be less purchases that are done on these. It's almost like today you looked at bookings. They did phenomenal on their earnings. Expedia did terrible. So you've got to pick the right ones. It's like Uber and Lyft. Be very careful with all that. That's what you always want to be looking at. Remember Carvana? They were going bankrupt 2 years ago. I understand the father and son today made $11 billion. That's how much the stock has now risen. I mean, you look at it from the depths of H and all the way to heaven. All right. Lower highs, lower lows, but you're under the Bollinger Band. I wouldn't get excited and you're oversold. Let it do something else. eBay never matched up so far with what people were looking for. ITSE didn't match up. None of these are. Not everything that's in the tech sector is doing well, and this is one of them. Now, you've gone from the upper band to the lower band in about 72 hours. So I think it's probably overdone, so be a bit careful. Tesla, while it soared on that Chinese news, it spent 3 days taking back about half of those gains so far. It's probably trying to fill the gap in the chart that was left. That's what I'm thinking on it. When we look at Freeport, I have a lot of naysayers when I say, you're correcting, and they'll go, copper's not going to correct, it's going to keep going. Glencore is getting ready to come in to bid on Anglo American. So there's bidders for these companies, but you're caught in this spiral of sideways action. If the market's as bullish as I think it is, it'll come out of here to the upside. We will see what happens with it. In the gasoline fund, great engineering by President Biden. He's dropped the price of fuel as we're going to get into maybe the Memorial Day holiday. He's jumping for joy. If it gets down low enough in crude, I'm sure that we'll hear, well, they're thinking of, again, buying for the strategic oil reserve. They should. They talked 72 before. Maybe they raised the number a little bit to $75, but I wouldn't be surprised that you get a floor put in under that. And do not expect OPEC in June to come in and say, oh, we're going to increase production. That isn't going to happen. Lower highs, lower lows. You can see how the market is just sort of hanging here. To get friendly in the financials, and it could happen tomorrow, first thing you got to do is stop the downtrend. So you'd have to get back over 40.85 to stop the downtrend. I don't see anything that can make it bullish. In the industrial sector, whipsaw market, higher high, lower low. I don't see a pattern trade there. I don't see a pattern trade on the consumer discretionary. I see a bearish crossover of price where the 18-day average got under the 100 and prices have been sinking, and they can continue to sink down here, but we're not trending yet. A trend is when you have lower highs, lower lows. You don't have that. You've got a market that just broke down and killed the uptrend. This was a bear market rally into the 18-day average, and it basically failed against it. Home builders, I know they're chopping. Tonight they're going like this. Give me some number that gets interest rates just what they're doing. They have fallen back. They were just knocking on the door in the 10-year of 5%. They're already back down to 4.6. I can see mortgages coming down a bit. I can play this game. So they're sitting there. Obviously, I come alive if this market gets over 104.91 with them. I will then want to sit down and have a great dinner with them too. In the energies, okay. So when you lost the bullish embedded reading this week, even on the weekly charts, couldn't be a buyer. Now the market has gone down to a lot of objectives on the daily and getting oversold. So now the energy gets a little more interesting on the charts. In the gold market, this is where support is coming in on the daily chart. It's not a buy yet. This is where the support is coming in. We've gone down in layers. We peaked, one layer, two layer, now you're down to the band. You often don't stay under a Bollinger Band. In the silver market, you've worked your way just like gold all the way back down. So the people that were buying this commodity rally that was relentless, I remember it. I was so frustrated, I can't begin to tell you because I missed out on it, all right? You had vertical moves, and my work is not engineered for vertical moves. Where do you put a stop on one? Anybody can buy, and if you get lucky and it keeps going fine, it even ran over Bollinger Bands for a while. They come home to roost, and this is how they come home to roost. Copper, same thing. Now the copper, I think this will turn out to be sideways action that culminates when we see rate cuts happen and the central banks start rolling down. This will come alive as industry picks up. You're probably ahead of yourself on this rally, probably in part because of takeover bids going for Anglo-American. In TLT, you're up to the resistance, the 18-day average. What's the next move for interest rates? Higher or lower? Well, you've had a bear market rally culminating at the 18-day average, and that's where you're at. And in the dollar, you couldn't hold the rally. So the next support's 28.66. Is the dollar going to break if our rates stay higher and others go first to cut theirs? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And the same thing's happening in FXE. I think a lot of it gets answered tomorrow, and I think you try to take advantage of that. So what I can promise you, I will be with you first thing in the morning. After 8 o'clock, I'll come out. I'll do my analysis as the report comes out. I'll probably do the recordings around 8:10 a.m. Central Time, give you what I see in the reports, how I think that the market will interpret it. And generally, when you get the report at 7:30, you get one wave up, one wave the other way as the algorithms go crazy in the market. Remember our free offers. This is a good time to take advantage of the Moore Research Center. One of the offers that we have there, when you look at the seasonal studies in a lot of markets, and you'll say, well, what does that have to do with me? It has everything. Copper, gold, silver. Are you kidding? What about stock indices? You ever hear of the Santa Claus rally? Well, it's not the only one that you get. You ever hear of sell may go away? Could that be at work here? So you look at the seasonals and you get ideas. These are all included in here. All you need to do is go to iraepstein.com. Pick the ones that you want. It'll go into a cart. Below this is your name and address. Fill that out and away you go. Or move your cursor to the top here and you'll see an icon. I'm Ira. You have yourself a good evening. I'll catch you first thing in the morning as we review the jobs report. Take care.